morning, campers. I'm just leaving Woody Gap. You can't hardly see in the fog. Rainy day yesterday. Took a zero. Rained off and on all day, and it's had a couple of cloudbursts this morning. It's not raining right now, but it's very damp, of course, because of the fog, and it's dripping off the trees a little bit. I don't have any rain gear on at the moment. I do have my pack cover on, and I have everything inside pack liners inside my pack, so I'm ready for rain. I can fairly quickly get out my raincoat and throw it on if I need to, as long as I have a little bit of advance notice. It doesn't just suddenly open up. But I think I'm going to be okay. But there's nothing for you to see right now. So until this burns off, I'm going to have nothing to share. The only thing I'll say is Above the Clouds Hostel was great. Nimrod's a good cook. It was nice having breakfast and dinner. I had a frozen pizza for lunch yesterday. And so today, 12.4 miles. Here we go. Here's a sign that says Gooch Gap. It's 4 miles, and I am at Woody Gap right now. Just leaving Woody Gap. So 12.4 miles, going to Hawk Mountain Shelter. Fairly easy walking. One big climb, Sassafras Mountain, which is a steep up and a steep down, but not real long. It's a steep up for 500 feet. And then it's a steep down for 500 feet. And then it goes back to just kind of rolling ups and downs. So Sassafras Mountain is my only challenge really today. I'm starting just before 8 o'clock. Some of the other people there, they're all going to Gooch Gap, which is, as you just saw, 4 miles down. And I thought, geez, I should have done that. I didn't even think about it. I just thought, oh, Woody Gap is where they pick up for the hostel, and that wound up being about an 11-mile day. So that's it's a relatively easy day, but another 4 miles on top of that. I mean, I could have done it. I would have gotten in later, but it would have been fine. Then I could have started out with all of them. They're not starting out for a couple hours. They're not going to get the shuttle till like 10 o'clock or something. So I may actually see them on the trail up ahead. Catch up to them, and they might catch up to me or something. So anyway, it's kind of a weird feeling. Today's my last double-digit mileage day, 12.4. Tomorrow's going to be an 8-mile day, 7.9, something like that. And Tuesday will be a 8.8 mile day or 9-mile day, somewhere around in there. So after today, no more double-digit miles. My second to last night on the trail too. Tonight I'll be at Hawk Mountain Shelter, and tomorrow night I'll be at Springer Mountain Shelter, and then Tuesday I'm done. Strange feeling, but it's kind of crappy weather today. But it's supposed to get nicer. It's supposed to clear up. This will burn off, and it's going to be about upper 60s, maybe 70 today. So I'll just talk about something that I'm thinking of while I'm walking here in this fog. I lightened up my pack as much as I could. I sent home a bunch of things that I knew I wasn't going to need for the rest of the trip, like my balaclava, goose down hood, my winter gloves, my rain mitts, just some extra stuff I had. I'm not going to need this for the next 2 days. I only have exactly enough food to last me through Tuesday. Let's see, my Deuce of Spades trowel, I sent that home because I got privies the next 2 nights. I shouldn't need that, although I did realize, oh shoot, I need to dig a cat hole to bury the rest of my dad's ashes, so I may have to borrow a trowel from Anakin if she has one. Otherwise, I'll have to use a stick or a rock and dig a hole. Totally forgot about that. So I put a bunch of stuff in my balance box and sent home. Then I left stuff in the hiker box. I left some food. I gave a bunch of protein bars to Anakin that I didn't want. I'm just getting kind of tired of some of the ones I've been eating, and so I bought some from the hostel, and I gave the ones I didn't want anymore to Anakin. I also left my third trekking pole in the hiker box. So that lightens my load by half a pound. Still got my 2 poles. So if anything happens with these, I've got shelters the next 2 nights. I can sleep in the shelter if I have to. It's not a big deal. Let's see what else. Oh, the bear spray. I left that in the hiker box. That's a good half a pound right there too, at least. So I'm fairly light right now. I've got, 2.5 days of food. Oh, I did want to check, shoot, that reminds me. I have enough canister fuel, I think, to last. I just need it for tonight for dinner. Tomorrow I was going to do a hot lunch and a hot dinner because I'm going to be on Springer by lunchtime. So I'll cook 2 meals on Monday. And then, so that's 4, dinner tonight, lunch and dinner tomorrow. And then other than that, I might just use it to warm up some water to wash out my cold soak container. But I don't have to do that, so I can conserve my fuel. I think I'll be fine. But I was thinking I should look for a partially full canister at the hostel to take with me just as a backup in case, but whatever, it's fine. I'll survive. I know what else I wanted to say. This is the last trip for this backpack. This backpack is falling apart. The crossbar on the top has broken. It's still in one piece, but it's partially broken. It's apparently carbon fiber, and it's no good anymore. So I can't pick up the pack with the center handle because that puts too much pressure on that spot. Also, as I was packing it this morning, putting everything in a pack liner, I noticed there's a big hole right in the back, like the part that's against my back, right behind the mesh. There's a big open hole right there. So I'm like, gosh, if it rains, water's just going to go right in there. So it's I thought about selling it when I got home. I thought, I'll throw it on eBay, say that's a used pack, but somebody could maybe get a season out of it. Somebody wants to buy it for $40 or something on eBay. It's a $300 backpack. But no, it's this is it. I just got to get it to last the next 30 miles, and then this is going in the trash. Unfortunately, it's just not salvageable anymore. It's too bad. Some of the straps just loosen themselves as you're hiking, and between that and the hole in it and the broken crossbar, some of those things can be replaced, but it's just 2,500 miles on a lightweight 2-pound backpack. It's a lot of wear and tear on this thing. So it was good while it lasted. I'll have to throw it out though, and I'll take off some of the accessories, and maybe my wife can use them, or I can use them on my next pack. But I will have to buy a new backpack eventually. Oh well, end of an era, I guess. So in one of my earliest videos, I noticed that some of the blazes, they scraped the bark before they painted the blaze on. And I know that's something that Myron Avery used to do, the guy who blazed most of the trail and is considered the first section hiker who hiked the whole trail, because he was instrumental in plotting out where the trail went in the early days. So since I'm so close to Springer, I see something like this and I wonder, when this was a smaller tree, is that one of the ones that Myron Avery scraped the bark off of before they painted the blaze on it? They stopped doing that, rightfully so, because I think they realized you're damaging the tree. You're removing its protective layer, and you're making it more vulnerable to insects and parasites and disease and whatnot. So, I don't know. Probably not. That's probably not Myron Avery. This would have been, 80 years ago or something. 80, 90 years ago. But it could have been one of his volunteers who did it, before they changed their policy. But I've been seeing that a lot down here in Georgia. I only saw a little bit up in Virginia. I believe it was Virginia, or maybe Pennsylvania. But a lot of the trees I'm seeing, the bark has been scraped off. So I'm assuming those were, scraped off decades and decades ago, well before I was born, before they changed their policy. See, there's one of those. I don't know what that was, a stick, a root, but your foot hits it and it just rolls out from under you. I almost fell right there. Well, since there's not a lot for you to see, I thought I'll just chat again at the risk of boring you. A couple other thoughts I had now that I've hiked almost the entire trail. Two main things that I think need to be addressed. One is bear boxes. I think I've mentioned that before, especially after my run-in with the bear a couple weeks ago. I strongly believe in bear boxes, multiple bear boxes at every shelter, at least two, in case one, if something happens to it, it becomes non-functional. At least two at every shelter, and at least one at every designated tent site. Especially down here in the south, where you've got dozens of people starting every day. There's just no reason not to put them in. The ATC has the money now. Put the bear boxes in. Protect the hikers. Protect the bears. Protect the food from not just bears, other critters. A bear box, no critter can get into it. Maybe a very small mouse in some bear boxes that aren't well constructed. But for the most part, your food is safe inside a bear box. The other thing I'll mention, thankfully I didn't experience this for myself, but they have to come up with some kind of a registration system where people register to start their hike on certain days. And there's a limit. They put a limit, 20 people, 25, 30, whatever the limit is. And you have to register and maybe pay a fee. Maybe they'll come up with a lottery system, but you can't have 40, 50, 60 people a day starting out on the trail at the same point. It's not doing the trail any favors. As another hiker put it, he said the trail is getting loved to death. And he's right, especially down here, down south, and to a lesser extent up north, where people finish, like Katahdin there, and up in Maine. I think it's great people are interested in hiking the trail or hiking in general, but something's got to give. It does not have an infinite capacity for people, and it would be a shame just to see it get worse and worse. The shelters get more and more vandalism and more trash, and just the woods around the shelters getting trampled. People trying to find spots for tents. It's just, it would make it much more pleasant experience for the hikers, much more pleasant for the rangers, much more pleasant for the environment, the flora and fauna in the region. So I think that's something they have to seriously take a look at. Other trails use the same system. They use the lottery system because so many people want to hike them, but they don't want them to be overwhelmed. Why they haven't done that on the AT, I don't know. I don't understand. I haven't even heard talk about it, but that would be my other suggestion. Make people register before they get on. They have to get a permit to hike the AT, or at least, the very least, to start at Springer or Amicalola. And you put rangers during the hiking season and ridge runners along the way, and you check their permits. Let me see your permit. Make sure you're all registered and everything. And anyone who doesn't have a permit, you get kicked off the trail and you get a fine. So shame on you. But I don't have a problem with that. Make everybody pay a nominal fee, to register, $20 or whatever, and get a permit. And if you need to do a lottery system, you do a lottery system. So anyway, that's my thought. So that right there is Gooch Gap, that road, that dirt road. So I made it 3.6 miles in an hour and 25 minutes. I wasn't even going fast. I stopped to take a snack and shoot those videos and just kind of slowed down. Oh well, fine, great, hey, good for me. 1.1 miles to the Gooch Mountain Shelter. I'm gonna sit down, have my peanut butter and pita bread or tortilla wraps, and sign the register and just sit out of the drizzle. It's not really drizzling, it's just dripping off the trees a little bit. But I haven't had to put my rain suit on. So that's good because it's kind of warmed up. It's about 70, upper 60s anyway. So it's going well. There's just not a lot to show you. It's still just kind of foggy. Well, the fog is just starting to break up and lift, as you can see. Not as foggy around here as it was. Very nice. I'm going to take a break at the Gooch Mountain or Gooch Gap Shelter, whatever it's called. That should just be ahead. I should be there within 10 minutes. Take a little break, have my snack there. And I got the rest of the day. When I get to Hawk Mountain Shelter, that'll be a short day. The other thing to remember is, well, not a short day, 12.4 miles. That's not a short day. Unless you're doing 20-mile days. The other thing to remember is daylight savings was last night, or daylight savings ended last night, I should say. So although we gained an hour of sleep, it's now going to get dark an hour earlier. It's going to be dark by 6 instead of by 7. So that means I got to get to camp tonight and tomorrow no later than 4 to do everything I like to do. I like at least 2 hours before dark. 2.5 if I can get it. So I'll be shooting to get to camp tonight, the shelter, between 3 and 4, and same tomorrow. Well, tomorrow won't be a problem. Tomorrow's an 8-mile day. I'm going to sleep in tomorrow. I won't even get up till probably 7. I won't even leave until about 9. And I'll still be there by, 1, 2 o'clock. I have my lunch when I get there. So anyway, it's a little bit different. That is one thing I forgot to factor in was daylight savings. The other thing I forgot to factor in is hunting season. I have an orange pack, but I got the pack cover on, so I'm not as visible right now. So when I get to the shelter in a few minutes here, I'm going to take the pack cover off to make myself more visible. Plus it's clearing up, the sky is starting to clear up. Starting to see a little patch of blue here and there, and the sun's kind of coming out. I don't know if you can see that. It's coming out right now. I see the sun on my face. So I think I'm out of the woods as far as the rain goes, so I'll take off my pack cover and I'll be more visible. So this is the Gooch Mountain Shelter, and here's a perfect example of what I'm talking about. You see all these white signs back there behind the shelter, over here on this side, the twine running between the trees. They say Gooch Mountain Revegetation Project. Do not cross behind twine. Stay on trail. And it's all over. There's twine here between these trees. Ribbon marking. All this ribbon telling you where not to go. Why? It's because there's too many people. And they're trampling everything. If this isn't an example of why we need to have people registered and, limit the number of people per day who can get on the trail. This is a perfect example. This shelter is about 16 miles from Springer, 16, 17 miles from Springer, around there. So it's one of the first ones. It's probably like the second night most people come to this shelter. It's just getting used to death, that's all. It's just going to get worse. Okay, it's almost noon, and I can't believe it, but it's clouded over again, and it started to sprinkle. I've taken my pack cover off, so I don't know if this is a brief thing, if I need to throw on my pack cover now. Crikey, you gotta be kidding me. Yeah, it's starting to sprinkle. I don't want to get wet. I'm gonna have to put my rain jacket on or something. Maybe put my pack cover back on. That takes me off. It was so nice. The sun was coming out. It was blue sky. And now some clouds have moved in and it's starting to sprinkle again. And there's no leaves on the trees to break up the rain, so it's just coming straight down. You can't win on the AT, I'm telling you. Okay, I just finished the last big climb of the day. I don't even think this has a name, whatever I'm on. There's a couple other climbs, but they're small. I'm only about 2 miles from the shelter. So I just passed the group of slack packers that had been staying at the Above the Clouds hostel. They're slack packing through Georgia in 1 week. Georgia only has about 76 miles or something of the trail, but they're also doing the approach trail, so that adds almost 9 miles to the southern end. And then they're going into North Carolina a little bit. I forget to what point, but it's something like, 95, 100 miles, somewhere around in there. So they were slack packing today, and I just crossed paths with them. And they were like, congratulations! They're like clapping and applauding. And I'm like, I'm not there yet. Don't jinx me. So I am, let's see, right now I am about 10 or 11 miles from the summit of Springer. So I'm going to go the 2 miles, whatever it is, 2 point something, to the shelter. And tomorrow it'll be an 8-mile day up to Springer. And I'll I'll shoot video up there, of course, as always. So I'm going to finish off these last couple miles and get to the shelter. Well, it's almost 2 o'clock. There's a gap down there, as you can see, the road. A couple cars. I'm half a mile from the shelter, and it's all uphill. So it shouldn't take too long. It's 5 minutes to 2. Should be there quarter after 2 or thereabouts. It's actually 0.1 off the trail, I believe. So it might be more like 2:20 or something. I'm just going to take my time. I don't want to get all sweaty my last half mile here. I'm going to go nice and easy up the hill and get to the shelter, get some water, and relax. There it is, sign for the shelter. There's 10 after 2. Head down to the shelter, check it out. Pick a spot I want to sleep, or at least look at the tent sites, see if there's anywhere dry to put my tent. If not, I'll pick a spot in the shelter. I'll sweep it out good, put my sleeping bag hanging up to dry, and then go fetch my water.